Do you struggle with a short backswing? If you do, this could be down to a lack of flexibility or strength in your lat muscles, which are your two big muscles in your back, play a key role in rotating the torso, so a key power production, but also the flexibility of them can play a key role in how far you can create a stretch with your lead arm in the backswing. So when we take the lead arm only and hold it in one hand so we can use this as a test, if I turn my chest halfway, how far can you stretch this arm above your head, feeling a stretch through that lead lat without it restricting? Naturally, you would obviously turn the hips to create more rotation and more length, but if we isolate those hips, how far can we get that arm without that stretch being limited? If we can't get it much higher than this, we know there's an issue here, which we need to lengthen that key muscle group, strengthen to keep it safe, and then see if we can get those hands much higher, much further to increase our hand path length, which is obviously going to give you more time in the golf swing, more space, more speed, and potentially a better technique overall. So exercise 1 will help us stretch out those lat muscles, so get extensibility in the overhead range of motion, which is going to stretch out the lats and increase that movement. We can also use this exercise as a test to see where the range of motion is and how that may improve as we go through the exercises. So we're going to start lying on the floor, roughly with the arms shoulder width apart. The wider the arms, the more range of motion you'll be able to create through the shoulder joint easier. So the key is probably to focus on starting shoulder width apart, and as you go through the session or through the weeks, decrease the width of grip, and that will increase the stretch to try and have to create the more range of motion. Start with your arms straight out in front of you. You're going to bring your knees up to a 90-degree angle. We're going to focus on pushing the lower back into the floor so the back isn't arching, because an arched back will actually help you increase some of your range of motion more naturally. So we need to almost get the truest sense of stretch going on. From here, in a very controlled and slow manner, you're going to slowly reach overhead. The key is you've got to keep those elbows straight. If we flex the elbows, essentially we can cheat the range of motion. And then we're going to drive it back up and repeat. We're trying to feel how far can we get without lifting the lower back off the floor, without bending at the elbows, and creating that range of motion through the stretch. And as we go down, another area that's important is we get the breathing right. So we don't want to be super tensed as we get to the bottom. We need to be able to relax almost to get those muscles to relax and create that greater range of motion over the weeks. We want to now get some real key strength into this range of motion. So we're going to do a seated shoulder press. The key is to get your bench as vertical as possible. We're going to sit back and we're going to focus particular in this variation of getting the lower back staying pressed on the bench. Often in this variation we can arch the lower back. Some people will almost do with that specifically to create an easier range of motion. We're going to focus on trying to create a really strict and true range of motion. So we're going to bring the dumbbells up into a 90-degree position, so the forearms and the dumbbells are in line with the ears. We've got that loaded. We're going to press vertically up, keeping a clean range of motion. So you can see that straight arm has not moved forward, keeping the control coming down, keeping the back on the bench, and utilizing that range of motion, almost having to feel like we force that range of motion if we're limited in the top position to create that full overhead position that we're trying to develop. This exercise is a really simple movement to do, but also a real challenge. We're going to utilize our own body weight under gravity to help decompress the spine, open it up to getting that full range of motion. So we're going to go into a pull-up position with an overhand grip, no wider than the shoulder width apart, so we're in that key position that we're trying to develop. We're simply just going to let the whole body weight hang, so it's pulling open those shoulders into that range of motion, creating that flexibility, but also creating some strength and endurance with where we're looking. Once you've got good at that, this will obviously depend on your grip strength and your body weight. The more you do it, the better you'll get. But if you get to a good position, then you can add in what we class as a scapular pull-up, where we're essentially pulling our body up off that position, but we're not doing an actual pull up. So you see how we're just kind of almost feeling like the scapulars or the shoulder blades are pulling more back, down and together, and we're just creating some extra strength in there and in that fuller range of motion to be able to move forward into the next steps. Once you've been working on these exercises for a little while and you feel like you've improved at them, go back to the test we did at the beginning where you're holding it with your lead arm and feel does that position and that movement feel any easier? Remember, this might not always be down to physical capacity, even though it's always important to improve. So speak to your golf coach and work on it, because there's other ways that you can also increase that lead arm stretch, but coupled with the ability to do it physically is going to only help you more. If you found this information useful, watch these 2 videos next, as they have a strong correlation to how the body moves in the golf swing.